What is up, guys? Your boy Khejell, Rextar Lewis, and today we are going to be talking about my wrestling journey. So I kind of have a story to tell about my wrestling journey. It's not really gone the way I wanted it to, but I feel like because people have been asking about it, it's quite a long story, where I'm heading, what's happened and all that stuff. I feel like in a way I kind of just want to share it, even if you didn't ask for it. Kind of just want to share it and just let people know the story behind how I got into it, what I was doing, where I want to take it from now on and all that stuff, and just a story of my wrestling journey. So without further ado, we're gonna get into it, and yeah, I'm gonna tell you about my journey in professional wrestling. Let's go. So essentially how I became a fan of wrestling is because I watched a episode of Monday Night Raw. I think it was a battle royale with Kofi Kingston, Sheamus. I think Legacy was in it as well. I don't remember too much about it, but I just remember that episode. I remember seeing that, and yeah, I was kind of hooked from there. I don't remember what exactly I was watching, but yeah, I was just kind of hooked from there. That was one of the first TV shows I was watching on a regular. Everybody was watching all these different cartoons, Ben 10, Power Rangers and all that stuff on a weekly basis and stuff. I wasn't doing that, and I started watching wrestling when I was about 9-10 years old. So yeah, that was like the first episode I've watched, and I don't remember any other episode other than that until I went to a live event a couple months later and I saw Shawn Michaels there. This was the last European tour for Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Randy Orton, John Cena, Chris Jericho. Literally seen like the whole lot from like the late 2010s, early 2000s, whatever you want to say about them. And there was a couple times where my mum had me watching wrestling through Daily Motion. I was watching SmackDown with like CM Punk and Jeff Hardy, their feud going on and stuff. So I feel like that's where I essentially became a wrestling fan, and I started to collect the magazines, the figures, everything to do with like childhood and wrestling. I pretty much had been to the shows, merchandise, had it. With the games, I kind of always knew the games were there. I think the first one I played was SmackDown vs Raw 2007. One of my cousins had it at the time, and I remember him playing John Cena versus the Big Show and him trying to pick up the Big Show for the FU and all that stuff. And to me, I just thought that was kind of amazing. My first game that I actually owned was Day of Reckoning. Day of Reckoning is the best wrestling game to me. My favorite wrestling game of all time. I don't like Day of Reckoning 2. I don't know why people keep saying that it's a good game. I don't really like it. Day of Reckoning 1 is the best one. While being a wrestling fan, I've created myself a character. Essentially, the name was just Khejell Lewis at first, but then I took on the name Rextar and just kept it as that. They wanted to be Khejell Rextar Lewis. It was just Rextar. So in games, I would create myself, do the movesets, do the entrances. Eventually, I started to do a logo. So when I was 13 on WWE 13, or I think it was 12, I don't remember which one, but I did a logo, and that's the same logo you see in the intro on my t-shirts and all that stuff. And that's where Rex and everything comes from, because of that logo being made when I was 13 and then evolving it into more colors, more shapes and ideas, and all that. Evolving it a bit more to become from Rex Evolution to Rex and everything under. So even now I still do my Rextar character. I've been doing it for years and pretty much every wrestling game I can, even AEW, TNA games as well. Now I've created my own wrestling company within WWE games called Levels Wrestling. I made this when I was 13 as well. There are some old clips of it, but primarily I deleted everything because I was kind of just embarrassed to have it at the time. I don't know why, but I still kind of run it today. I'm still in the process of rebuilding it right now, so hopefully soon that should be coming up. And that's me being a wrestling fan. That's everything that's come from me being a wrestling fan. Also, what I do want to mention is that I used to do backyard wrestling with my neighbor, my cousin, and also a family friend. We used to wrestle on trampolines. We even used to do it on concrete as well in my back garden. And then eventually my mom got crash mats from my old primary school, and I started to use them, and I built a ring out of 2 crash mats, 4 old chairs, and like an old hose that just went around until I moved, and eventually like never been in a ring, but that was like my created ring that I had in my old house when I used to live in Essex. Right now I'm currently in a place where I don't know if I want to do wrestling anymore, just generally because of what the product is right now. I'm still a wrestling fan and all that, so I still try to keep up with the product, even though it isn't great right now, but I will try to keep up with it. I'll put it on when whenever the time is on and all that stuff. If something looks interesting, I'll look it up and stuff. But primarily, I feel the biggest grasp that got me to not be so interested was the releases that happened this year. It was kind of depressing, and it happens every single year where wrestlers lose their job, and some of them, they don't have to be your favorites, but you still feel for them. And some of them, a lot of the time, are my favorites. Some people that I am genuinely interested in watching or interested in seeing the company use them and all that stuff. So I've always felt a way every time someone got released, and this year just seemed to be a little bit depressing, and it kind of just made me feel like I don't want to be there anymore. I'm not in the WWE, but if I was there, I would kind of feel like I just don't want to be there no more, even though that was a dream for like a majority of my life to become a professional wrestler. I haven't been wrestling since, I think it was February. The last thing I remember me doing was doing a promo. We was asked to come in and do a promo, and I think that was what I did. I don't think I wrestled after that. I don't really remember because there was just a lot going on at that time, but that's what I'm going to get into later on in the video. So yeah, I'm going to go back to the beginning, and then we're going to go through this whole wrestling journey. So yeah, essentially when I don't remember the age, but until I was about 15, 16, I was doing backyard wrestling. Bought myself a little toy wrestling belt, and we fought over that a lot of the time, whether it's on trampoline, the crash mats, concrete, as I said, even all over the house and all that stuff, doing Falls Count Anywhere matches, ladder matches. We was doing all of that. A lot of that was fun to me, but I didn't feel the people I was doing it was as passionate as me, which isn't a problem because we're all kids and kind of just like wrestling and stuff. But I always knew that I wanted to do wrestling. So that being given, me wrestling in my neighbor's trampoline and stuff, my mum eventually took me to wrestling training with LDN Wrestling. Alan Lee Travis was the coach, and that's where I kind of picked up, yeah, I really want to do wrestling and stuff. Before, I used to watch videos with my neighbor or my cousin and be like, oh, I wouldn't want to do this, I wouldn't want to do that, and I've kind of grown and just been like, I'll pretty much do anything except power drivers. I will never do power drivers. So I started doing wrestling training, LDN Wrestling. This was in Harold Hill in the leisure center. There was no ring, so we was doing it on just like normal mats. So if I was getting slammed, I was getting slammed on a mat. So I feel in a way that's kind of built up my pain tolerance. I remember my coach doing an Oklahoma slam onto one of these mats, and it kind of knocked the wind out of me. But from there, I kind of felt like I can get used to this, and I've been doing a lot of not necessarily crazy stuff, but my pain tolerance has just been to a point where I can just absorb a lot of these things that a lot of people would get winded by or it hurt the next couple of days and stuff. But me, I just got used to it pretty quick. So I think I was doing that from the age of 11 to about 15, 16, around when I was doing GCSEs, and I kind of had to stop for a while. But between the time of being age 11 to 15, 16, I was very on and off, just generally because I wasn't the one that was paying for it. It was my mom, and sometimes I just didn't want to go. Yeah, there was just, I don't really remember the timeline, but I just remember it was quite inconsistent. So if I had to say at that time what my experience was, it was probably about a year's experience, just by how consistently I was going. Stopped wrestling training there then was because of GCSEs, and then eventually I got into college, and then we moved out and all that stuff. It was just a lot of bad timing, so I just couldn't go back. I did want to, but where I live now compared to where it is a long travel, and I kind of just didn't want to do that, and nor was I working nor had the money to do so in my first year of college, to be doing the travel and paying for the training. All just came to a stop. But I remembered a lot of the moves, I remember a lot of the training parts and everything, and I was like, eventually I'm gonna want to come back and do it. And I remember having a deja vu that I was on a DLR station waiting for the train so I can go to said wrestling training, and that's actually happened. Like the same exact image, me wearing like a navy blue jacket, got my side gym bag on, whatever you want to call it, and I'm there waiting for the train to be on my way to go into wrestling training, and it happened. Yeah, so between the time of me being in my first year in college, which was from the age of 16 all the way to about 24 years old, I hadn't done any wrestling training whatsoever. But if you knew me over the years, you'd know that I'm a huge wrestling fan, that I watch WWE religiously, SmackDown, Raw, all pay-per-views. I'd watch them live however I could and all that stuff, but like there was no wrestling training. I could show people a couple of moves and what I learned all these years back and all that stuff, but at the same time I kind of had nothing to show for it. I always did think about doing wrestling training at these times, but I didn't know where to go, nor did I have the money to even fund myself to do these things. So yeah, I didn't get into it until I was about 24. Returning to training, I started training back in 2023. I think it was around late September 2023, and I looked up Rev Pro Wrestling. Rev Pro Wrestling was pretty much an indication that I just get straight back into wrestling, because wrestlers like AJ Styles, Roderick Strong, Kurt Angle, Park, Gunther, Kenny Omega, all these people have wrestled in Rev Pro Wrestling, and I felt this is the place that I need to be if I want to get wrestling training. Plus, this was the first time I'd ever been in a ring. It's a lot smaller than a WWE ring, but the first time of just actually being inside a wrestling ring, not a boxing ring, because a boxing ring is a lot harder, the ropes are a little bit looser, but like with this one you can spring off of it. The ropes do hurt, like when you run the ropes they do hurt a little bit. I remember my first session, I was pretty much excited. I met the coach. My coaches are Michael Oku, David Francisco, Shah Samuels and Connor Mills. Those are all from my trainers. Shout out to you guys. So I got back into wrestling training. I was pretty much there every single week. I wanted to just keep learning and hopefully start having like some matches, because it's Rev Pro and they're doing shows. It's one of the biggest wrestling promotions in the UK, so I felt like this is the place that I need to be. I already had knowledge of like basic skills I needed to become a wrestler, given me being an LDM before, so I kind of proved that to them by doing like a couple bumps and all that stuff, the back bump, front bump, side bumps and all that stuff. All of that was pretty much easy to me. I could do a couple moves like a back suplex, a suplex. I could do German. Didn't really like doing Germans anyways. Yeah, it was all pretty much simple to me, so I didn't have to go through the beginner phase at all. I was put straight into intermediate. At that point in life, this is where a lot of things were going on. I'm not going to go into super detail of them, but a lot of things were going on with my life, and I kind of just wanted a way to get around. I think the same time I joined wrestling is the same time I got fired from my job, so like it was something to do, and I still had money to last that whole time of me going to wrestling training and stuff. So yeah, I was there for like a good couple of months, going every week, 1 time a week, 2 times a week, whenever I could. Yeah, I was kind of just in a bad place, and wrestling was making me feel physically well and mentally well, even though like a lot of that point was a really dark time for me. Where I felt I was heading, I felt like there was a point of me that felt I wanted more out of intermediate. So I remember speaking to one of my coaches, and I asked them if there's like a tier system where eventually you move up stages and I get to go to the advanced classes and all that stuff, because you couldn't just go to the advanced, you have to work your way up. And I remember him telling me that I could just go to one of them, see how it is and all that stuff. And I remember doing that session and it was super intense. My cardio is just not up to par. I'm very athletic and stuff, but my cardio is not up to par, but I managed to keep up and stuff, and it was a good session. And this was the session with Shah Samuels, and this session in particular really excited me because Shah Samuels was someone I was watching during NXT UK and had one of my favorite gimmicks. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like a betting guy who would put bets on Noam Dar or whoever Noam Dar was facing. It was just one of my favorite gimmicks while watching NXT UK. So to train with someone that I was watching on TV a couple years prior was just like a dream to me and everything. I didn't know who Michael Oku and David Francisco were before, but I've done my research and everything, and I've realized like they really know what they're talking about. So I'm very glad to have them as coaches, teaching me the ropes, even though I haven't been really consistent, but that's just life getting in the way and stuff. Yeah, I'm really thankful for my coaches giving me a chance and put me in a position where I could do the advanced training, and even coming up to getting close to having a chance of being on shows. But as I said, bad timing, life happened and it completely just stopped. So I was gone from I think the middle of January to about mid-April, where I came back for a few months and stuff. I tried to have as many advanced sessions as possible so I could get back to that place that I was currently in before I had left. And then this was when life got a little bit more darker for me, and it really started to slow things down. Like I remember times where I was getting injured, I was getting hurt, not by other people, but I was just getting hurt. There was one time I hurt my wrist. My wrist was just completely solid for a while. My heel was swollen, had a concussion, re-injured my neck. My neck has been like a problem for me ever since I was about 12. It's just been a big problem to me. So a lot of those injuries were coming up, and especially when I had the like mini concussion, I had to take a month off and stuff, so that kind of just slowed a lot of things down for me. And I really, this was a time where I started to think to myself, do I really want to do this? Not because I'm getting hurt, but I was just thinking like nothing's really working out for me anymore. I do want to do this, but like I'm not gaining anything. I don't feel like I'm progressing or anything like that. So I was pretty much gone by the time that I healed from the concussion. Yeah, everything at that time just kind of fell flat. It didn't work out the way it should have for me. Well, not necessarily should have, but the way I wanted it to. So at that point, the gaps that I had were from January to April, and then from June to about July, and then I was in for like a couple weeks from August all the way until until August 2025. So from August 2024 to August 2025, I hadn't been to wrestling training whatsoever. Couldn't find myself. I couldn't find the time to go. I was in a court process. There was just a lot of things going on within my life. But at the same time, I always watched like my peers doing matches and stuff. I'd seen them having pictures, and I always felt to myself like, I should really be in this position. I want to be in this position. Like, I should have been in this position a long time ago. So I wasn't necessarily jealous or didn't want that for anybody else, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't envious, because I wanted to be there, and that's somewhere I could have been a long time ago if life had worked out for me and all that stuff. It didn't. So when I got back into wrestling in August, I was doing it like here and there. I was a bit shaky with it. Not that I didn't want to be there, but there was still a lot going on. Court process, I had my kids full-time and everything. There was just too many things going on at the same time. A lot of the time I was too exhausted to even go. I wasn't getting enough rest. Like, I just wasn't taking care of myself properly, so I just felt it would be a bit too unhealthy for me to go. And I remember one session in particular where I was working myself a lot to the point where I felt like I was going insane. Like, it generally didn't look good for me. I don't think a lot of people would really understand that without me really explaining, but it was getting really intense in my head and all that stuff, so I kind of had to slow down. So I think the last session I did was in November, and then I came back in January, was there a bit regular, and then till February I think my last session was doing a promo, and I could show you a little bit of the promo to understand where my head was at, because we was told to write a promo for about a minute, and I wrote my promo based on where I was in life, where I wanted to be and everything, but like how I really felt about it. So yeah, this is the promo.
Rex, everything under. That means I'm above you and you will only ever be beneath me. I am better than you. But I haven't felt like that in a long time. Through the trials and tribulations of life, I haven't been able to live up to my own expectations. I've been on off wrestling for a long time, and it pains me. It even pains me to see my friends succeed. And in all honesty, I'm happy for them. But I'll be lying if I said I wanted to see you succeed, because I don't. I want to cause utter chaos and negativity. And I won't stop until I inherit the world of professional wrestling. I have to be the best. I am the best. And if you don't believe me, you believe me later on. And if you don't hear me, you will feel me.
Right now, I'm still in a process. I'm thinking if I really want to be in wrestling, and it's nothing to do with my training or how things have been. It's more so to do with how my destination is looking at the moment. WWE right now just isn't a great place to be in right now. Like, nothing's really going on. The work environment just doesn't look good from an outside perspective or anything. Like, nothing really intrigues me to be there. You could say I could go TNA or AEW or be on like the indies, but my goal was always to be in WWE. WWE was always my priority in becoming a wrestler, and if I wasn't a wrestler, I'd be in the entertainment industry. But I still want to be a wrestler more over being in the entertainment industry, because I feel like I have a lot more to offer with wrestling than I do pretty much anything else. But now I really do want to get back into wrestling to see if, not if I still have it, but like if I still want it nearly as bad as I did when I was younger, regardless of how WWE looks. Could go to AEW, could go to TNA, but sometimes I kind of feel like those aren't my places, and WWE is more of my thing than all these other companies and all that stuff. I could be on the indies, but I don't really see myself as an indie wrestler. I see myself more as a sports entertainer more than a wrestler, but I still want to put on great matches and have people intrigued about my wrestling as well as my character, because I feel like over the years I've been building that up a lot of the time. Like, a lot of the personality you see from me, the whole Rextar thing, is all because because of wrestling. Everything that I pretty much do is because of wrestling. I did promos because of wrestling. All this, everything is literally just because of wrestling. Wrestling has been like a big part of my life and something that I just can't get rid of, and something I don't think I will get rid of. Yeah, it's always been there, even where now in a place where I feel like I'm not nearly as interested as I was about it. It's still in my heart, and I don't want to say that I've grown up or anything, or that it isn't for me anymore, because it clearly still is, because I'm still watching the shows, I'm still checking up on all these things that are going on. Like, it's going to work out eventually. Hopefully I could get back into wrestling, and hopefully I could get into having like little indie shows, hopefully get into WWE, whether I become a celebrity wrestler or whatever. Like, I just want to be in WWE at some point. I've been to the shows and everything. Every time it comes to me being a wrestling environment, it just makes me want to be there even more, and I feel like that's what I've been missing a lot over the last couple of years. But I feel getting back into wrestling training will put me back in that position. I feel like I still got a lot of my athleticism and all that stuff. I still got a lot of the knowledge, things that I want to do, things that I want to try, things that I can do. So like, I don't have a problem stepping back into the ring and feeling rusty. I don't feel like I have ring rust. Even when I first came back to doing wrestling, I don't think I had a ring rust or anything like that. But now it's just about timing. At this point in time, I don't think it's the right time. Whether I can financially support myself to get back into wrestling training or not is not a factor. It's more just about what is going on with my life and things that need to kind of reveal itself in order to put me back into that position of me doing wrestling and training again and doing all the things that I want to become the wrestler of Rextar that I wanted to be all these years. So yeah, essentially the dream hasn't died. It was going down a little bit because I was thinking if I wanted to still do it or not, and I've pretty much come to a place where I want to put myself in that position to see if I really want it. But I remember the last time I was there, I was like, I'm here, I'm doing this, and I don't feel like I'm being forced to be here. Hopefully my journey still continues and everything. I just need my life to get back on track a little bit more and all that stuff. Hopefully things align. I finally get to do an indie show at some point, whether it's good or bad. Just being on an indie show at least will make me feel good about myself, because that was a place of where I was at. I haven't got back to that level. It's like you just become a shell of yourself. That's where I feel like I'm at with wrestling right now, and I really do hate it for myself. That's just the place that I'm at right now. So I'm just thinking about when eventually I can go back and what I can do once I get back. Hopefully that wasn't too much of a depressing story. I know it might have been entertaining or like lively and energetic or anything like that, but I felt like that was just a story just to tell people like where I'm heading with it, because I did used to upload a load of videos of me, my wrestling training, the moves I've tried out, things that have been done to me and all that stuff, because it is, to me, it is quite cool. I like to do the montages and all that stuff. I just like to share it, and sometimes even people that aren't interested in wrestling ask me about it. So like, I felt like I wanted to share this story with you guys, and if you reached here, I really do appreciate you for listening to my story. It might not have been the best explanation, but yeah, that is essentially my wrestling journey right now. It hasn't died, it's still continuing. It's just slowed down at the moment just because of where my life is at right now. Anyways guys, I'm going to leave that there, and we'll be back with another video soon. If you did like that, follow for follow, check out my Twitch and my TikTok, turn on notifications, and peace.